Hello, everyone, and welcome back on Lady Books. It's been a minute since we've had a video in this channel, and this time I am coming back with a different kind of video than the ones that you usually see here. Because, as you may have read in the title, this is not a review video, whether a book review or a K drama review. This is not also a wrap up or a recommendations video, but this is more of like a chit chat video, a video where we'll be chatting about something. And you may have guessed that from the title, we will be talking about sad books, about heartbreaking books, and sadly, how I cannot read them anymore. I've overthought this video for like too long and thinking, what can I say in this? What will I say? I need to structure it. I need to say this and then that. And then I found myself just postponing filming it. So I was like, you know what? We're going to do this the old fashioned way, which means that I'm going to open the camera and I'm going to chat with you and hope and pray that it's not going to last forever. First of all, I just want to highlight that this is not a way for me to say that you should not read sad books or you should not read heartbreaking books or it is not good for you to read these kind of books or we should stop reading these kind of books. No, not at all. This is just like a personal experience and a personal evolution in my reading tastes and not even in tastes because I actually cannot read really for real heartbreaking books and sad books anymore. But it is not a question of taste and it is not a question of not liking them or not craving them or wanting to read them, but it's more a literal question of ability. When I say can't, it's really can't. That doesn't mean that I don't. I still do sometimes, but I try to avoid them as much as I can. In the high emotions books, I also do not just talk about heartbreaking books, even though they are the topic of this video, but I also include in them thrillers. I actually was never a big thrillers girly, but I can remember that back in high school, I was reading more of them and I didn't mind the thrill, the actual adrenaline. Right now, not so much. Like I really read for cold-blooded thrillers, like maybe two a year at best, like at very best. And I just cannot with the high stakes adrenaline anymore. I do not like them anymore because most of them feel like very predictable to me. But even when I like them, sometimes I'm like, oh my god, too much adrenaline. Oh my god, no, too much anxiety, not for me. So I include like high stakes thrillers into this category of like making you feel like unnecessary anxiety. I'm like, where I think that sad books are necessary because they convey important stories, I say that thrillers to me are not that necessary because even though most of the time they may have like some important message to convey, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read another book conveying the same message, and that doesn't include me being anxious the whole freaking time I am reading it. The exception to that are all the Agatha Christie books and all the Sherlock Holmes books and Marie and Carol Higgins Clark's books because literally anything with Hercule Poirot is cozy literature. Anything Marie and Carol Higgins Clark is cozy literature to me, cozy mystery, and anything Sherlock Holmes is just like. I think that if you know me, you know that we do not discuss Sherlock Holmes in here. We just love Sherlock Holmes, and that's it. It's a genre in itself. It doesn't go and it is not included in any other mystery or thrillers genre. It's just like Sherlock Holmes. It's superior. The years since I started being a reader, which means since forever, but especially since I started being a bookstagrammer and posting on Bookstagram, I've always seen this trend of romanticizing reading sad and heartbreaking books and how the best kind of books are the ones who will break your heart. And how is it even a good book if it doesn't break your heart and shatter your soul to a million pieces and leave you crying and sobbing over them? And I actually agreed with that for so long. And I, up till like a few days, maybe a few weeks ago, I was still agreeing with that, and I was still like pushing this narrative. And every single time I was like talking about a sad book and saying how this is so heartbreaking, or I was reviewing a book and saying it was heartbreaking, or that I was commenting on a review where the reviewer was saying that this book broke her heart, and I was saying, for example, I'm so afraid to read this book because I know it's going to break my heart. Every single answer that I've got, but aren't these the best kind of books, the books that will break your hearts? Well, I partially agree. These kind of books are really great and gorgeous, and I love them. And in so many times, most of the times, actually, to not say all the time, they are also so necessary, because these books that break your hearts tell true stories, real stories, or stories inspired by real life events, or bring up some important issues such as colonialism, feminism, misogyny, patriarchy. They are books that are necessary and vital to the world, and I so urge everyone to keep writing them, and every single authoress and author out there to keep writing them, because we still need them. And we do need these books that tell us about the harsh reality without trying to romanticize it, or to put some makeup on it, or to choose their words to not make it as blunt and as heartbreaking as it is. We do need these books, and they will always, always, always be necessary, and they will always hold a special place in my heart, because with a work of fiction, you can the ability to make a person feel, the reader feel, so many emotions, and to be literally heartbroken over a work of fiction is a blessing, and it's a gift, and I love that. This is so necessary. But sometimes these works are too heartbreaking. Well, let me explain to you. Sometimes the sadness that comes after reading these books or while reading these books can become too overwhelming, because you may take this energy, this sadness, this heartbreak out there into the world with you. And this is something I do. I just feel all the emotions in the book, the good ones and the bad ones, the positive and the negatives, way too deeply, and often I take them back to the world with me. So I stay heartbroken for a long time over this work of fiction. And this is why it has become so difficult for me to read these sad books, because I just bring all this energy with me. And I feel like I'm already a very anxious person in real life. I already have a lot of anxiety, and I already like feel too deeply, and this is both a blessing, and I love that about myself, and this is both sometimes can become like too overwhelming when you feel like everything too deeply. So when I add up like the anxiety and the stress that comes with a heartbreaking book, sometimes can feel like too exhausted. So the thing is, it's not that I don't like these heartbreaking books anymore. Actually, some of the most, like for example, if we just take the example of 2025 as a year of reading, I feel like my most well rated and my favorite books of the year were heartbreaking. And I loved them for that. I love that they were able to convey to me this feeling of heartbreak, because this feeling of heartbreak is so necessary. But the thing is, I cannot, for example, read, I don't know, A Thousand Splendid Suns, and then right away read Babel, and then right away go and read Wings of Starlight, and then right away another heartbreaking books, etc., etc., etc. It's a question also of quantity, and of wanting and craving some lighter reading and some cozier reading, and not wanting to read just like high emotionally reads still, and keep reading heartbreaking books. It's just that I cannot read them. For example, I feel like a few years ago I could read like multiple ones, just like one after one, and not feel that they are making me too emotionally exhausted. But now, with the state of the world right now, and how all the anxiety that is already in the world out there, and all the stress, I feel like I cannot be reading all these books, for example, that I quoted one after one. I know also that there are some books that I will never be reading. For example, I think that I cannot read Alchemist. um First of all, it's not like my favorite genre ever. This plays a role too. I'm not like very fan of gothic horror stuff, but this is apparently a book that will break you into a million pieces. And I think that I'm gonna pass my turn, even though I know that it's a book that targets a lot of important topics. And I urge any one of you who may want to approach it to do, and who feels like they can emotionally handle it, please do read it. But I know it's not just for me. So I don't think I will ever read A Little Life, because I've heard way too many heartbreaking things about it, and it's a way too long book, and so it means like way heartbreak for way too long. So I know this is not for me, but I know that there are some other books that I need and want to read. Like, for example, I will be reading very soon Pachinko by Imin Ji, and I know that this book is gonna break my heart. Actually, had started it a few years ago. I started the French translation, and I just couldn't bear it. It was like too much, too depressing. But it's the good kind of depressing, you know. It's not like the good kind of depressing in a way that it makes you feel good, but in the way that this is a story that is important to be told. This is written well. This is necessary. It's just that I'm not in the greatest emotional state to be reading that. I don't want to mess with my emotions right now, so I am not going to be reading that now. I feel like one thing that has been helping me a lot with heartbreaking books and sad books is audiobooks, or are audiobooks, because even though I am able to be fully invested and immersed in an audiobook, I feel like this immersion is a little bit lighter than when I'm reading the paperback or on my Kindle. Let me explain to you. I am there. I am fully invested. I have cried multiple times with audiobooks. For example, I have cried with The Thousand Splendid Suns that I had read both on paperback and on audio. I have cried multiple times with Homesicken by Carissa Chen, and all of these were audiobooks. But I feel like I carry these emotions of sadness and heartbreak for a shorter time. I do not have the time to cry a lot, you know? As soon as I am heartbroken, we are already on to the next chapter. Few were the times where I needed to pause and to, like, oh my God, think about it. So, but with books, with actual like paperback books or on my e-reader, I spend way too much time like processing these emotions and crying about them or laughing about them, or anyways. So I feel like audiobooks have helped me a lot. So I know that a lot of my sad readings for the next few months will be on audio, and I'm really excited for that actually. I have also read one interesting perspective on Bookstagram about sad books, and how, for example, why some people love them so much, love these heartbreaking books so much. And I know some people that only read heartbreaking books. Like, if it doesn't break your heart, it's not a good book. So I know that some people love them, because I've read an interesting comments about this, and that they feel safe only feeling heartbreak in the pages of these books, like, because you know that this heartbreak belongs to this book. And I love this perspective. It's just not the way I feel it and I live it. It's because I told you that I carry these emotions, this anxiety with me into the world, whereas there are some people who love the comfort of having the sadness and the heartbreak in the book. And I found that very interesting, and I don't know if I can like work on myself to do that, because I feel like that would be a joyful thing to do, to keep the emotion in the book. It's just that I do not think that I am willing to do that also, because I fear that if I keep all this heartbreak in the book, that would mean that I will keep all the other emotions also in the book and not carry them with me. Because, as I've told you, I feel the sadness very deeply, but I also feel the happiness and the joy very deeply. And there are multiple books with joy and happiness and coziness and comfort. So I want to carry this comfort with me into the world. I don't know if I can still keep doing that if I decide that I would just like keep the sadness in the book. Anyway, I hope I was able to convey myself to you about this point. The last portion of this video, I want to address the final fact that heartbreaking books are the best kind of books. Where I answered this question or this statement in the beginning and said that I partially agreed. Yes, they are great books. They are amazing. And again, this is not a video of me criticizing them. I really hope that the way I talked and the way I conveyed these thoughts to you did not make you feel like I hated sad books. As I said, it's just that I feel like I need to take some breaks between these books, and I feel like I cannot read like multiple sad books one after one, and there are some that I just cannot read at all. But that I am craving to read many, many more, especially works of historical fiction, and especially some works. For example, I'm so excited to be reading The Poppy War by Rebecca Kwong, but I do not feel like I can read that right now. We've been discussing this with one of my friends, and we were discussing doing a joint reading of the Poppy War trilogy, but we both like agreed on one thing. Like, we both do not feel like we are mentally in a place that will handle these books. So I don't know how we will do that. We've been talking about this forever. I do not still feel like I can read them right now. Perhaps that if I do so on audio, it will be easier, even though I fear not. But anyways, this is was just like me explaining that this is not me trashing sad and heartbreaking books. They're good, they're amazing, they're necessary, and I love them, and I love their ability to convey strong, deep feeling. When I say that I partially agree, it means that yes, sad books and heartbreaking books are great and they're good and they're amazing, but that doesn't mean that they are the only ones that are good and amazing and beautiful, and that they are the only ones that are able to convey strong emotions. Let us stop romanticizing sadness and heartbreak at the price of happiness. Happiness and joy are good too. I know that the purpose of heartbreaking books is not to romanticize what is sad or to say that sadness is beautiful. But here, when I say let us stop romanticizing sadness, I am more talking about the feeling, the actual human feeling, than the book. Because sometimes we are craving to feel strong emotions. Why not reach for a cozy, happy, joyful book? These books are great too, and they make you feel good about yourself, and they can also make you feel a different kind of sadness. And this makes me, for example, think of some of my most comforting readings, which is like the Anne of Green Gables series. The Anne of Green Gables series is very comforting and very beautiful, but this doesn't mean that they are not sad in some parts, that they do not have some sad parts, that they did not keep me awake until 4 a.m. crying over some random fictional people's deaths and sorrows and problems. So these books are also carry their amount of sadness, and they carry at the same time the same amount of coziness and comfort and hope. And this sadness is beautiful too. The sadness of daily life, the sadness of that we can encounter in our daily lives. We are also allowed to say on social media and on Bookstagram that joyful books, happy books are the best kind of readings. And this does not dismantle in any way the sadder, more heartbreaking books. So let us just read. Let us just read, and let us be brave to crave strong emotions, and let us be brave enough to say, no, I actually am craving some strong emotions, but I do not want sadness right now. I do not want heartbreak right now. I just want coziness. Coziness can be soothing, beautiful, and strong and transformative too. Let me read some cozy literature. Let me bring a Michiko Aoyama book and feel all the emotions in it. There is not a single Michiko Aoyama book that I have read and that I haven't cried with. I have cried with all of them, but these were strong tears of emotions that I carried out with me into the world, of emotions of being seen, of being understood, of being just represented in these books, of being touched with these stories, of being deeply moved by them. There are multiple stories, for example, also like Kiki the Little Witch by Eiko Kadano, and I'm particularly thinking about the second volume where there was the topic of grief and that was highlighted, but in such a way that was so so comforting, so beautiful, so subtle that it makes you cry out of how the authoress was understanding enough and was careful enough for our own feelings to not hurt us, that she tackled it in that way. And that made me cry because it deeply moved me how she chose her words, how she chose the way she can. Could see that she's talking about grief and that this person lost someone, but there was not a single word, a single sentence that could make you feel like triggered if maybe grief is one of the things that triggers you, or there was not a single way that could make you uncomfortable reading it. And this is a strong emotion because it is amazing and beautiful to be able to convey heartbreak and sadness. It's beautiful to be able to convey that with your words when you're writing, but it's also as beautiful to be able to convey its comforts, because we really underestimate how beautiful comfort is. We live in way too stressful worlds and societies, and with so many societal norms that we need to live by, that comfort has become a literal luxury that we do not crave anymore, that we feel is not something fancy anymore. Well, it is. And I really hope you find books that make you comforted and comfortable. We arrive at the end of this video. Thank you so much for listening to me. Tell me in the comments, what do you think? Are you a person who loves reading heartbreaking books and that can read them? Are you someone who doesn't actually even like reading heartbreaking books, that prefers like happier books? Or are you someone who craves reading them but cannot read them as much as did want to anymore? What do you think about this? What do you think about sad books? What is your poster on sad books? And what is your poster on comforting books? Perhaps I will be doing a future video on maybe the most heartbreaking books that I've read and the most comforting books that I can recommend to you. So we can have both very strong emotions, heartbreak and comfort, and both books that you can both enjoy equally and that can both make you feel like some very strong emotions. Thank you so much for watching. See you very soon in a new video. Je vous aime.